Okay, this is my recipe for pea soup, and I have a leftover ham, which is actually the bone and some pieces from when I made my Coca-Cola ham on another video, and I'm going to show you what I do with it. I'm going to take 4 tablespoons of butter, and I got a Dutch oven here that's set on about medium in heat, and I got 3 cups of carrots. So we can cook these just until they're wilted, about 3 to 4 minutes. And I'm going to add about a half teaspoon of salt, because I have the salt pork that's going to go in here. So we'll let that go. And so what I did was I had a whole leg of pork that I cooked, and this has the actual bone and everything in it. I figured what better thing to do than to make pea soup. You can also make a bean soup. And let this go a little bit. And then we're going to add some garlic to this. If you guys don't have a Dutch oven, I really suggest getting one, because it really cooks the food evenly. This one is actually cast iron with an enamel on it. They're only about $50 at Walmart. You can turn the heat up a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to add some garlic. It's about 4 cloves of garlic. Now I'm going to add, you just want that garlic to cook until it's fragrant, about 30 seconds or so. Now I'm going to add 14 cups of water. Now you can use chicken stock, but I went cheap on this one. And I'm going to add actually the salt pork. Let this come to a boil. To that I'm going to add 4 bay leaves, and I'm going to add a pinch of thyme. About a tablespoon. I'm going to add this pork. And we'll let that cook and reduce down. I'll show you what I do after that's done. Okay, so the soup cooked for about an hour. And that was actually 10 cups of water, not 14. And so I took all of the soup and strained it, defatted it, and now I'm rendering about 2 ounces of salt pork in here, and it's nice and crispy now. So now I'm going to go ahead and add 2 cups of celery and 2 cups of carrots. The reason I like to cook all the other stuff first is a lot of recipes they'll tell you to put the peas in with everything, and then you end up having to pick the bones and all that out. So I believe in developing the flavors and making it as easy as possible. So I'm just going to leave that like that. So the idea here is just to kind of bloom this, which means just cook it until it starts to smell a little fragrant. And now what I'll do, I'm going to add, here's the stock, which is actually quite nice looking now. Even without using chicken stock, it's pretty dark. So I'm going to add, it's going to be just about 10 cups now. I'm going to bring that up to high. So that's 8, and then here's the rest of the broth from my cup that I used to take the fat off. I ended up with about that much fat. And now what I'll do is I'm going to put the peas in. And this is 2 pounds of peas, and I've rinsed it. I've rinsed the peas. That was my phone. And then I'm going to add a bit of black pepper to taste. And that's it now. I'm going to let this go, bring it up to the boil, and let it go probably for at least a half hour until the peas soften, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do next. Okay, so now the soup is cooked about 45 minutes, and it's ready to be pureed. So what I like to do, the heat is off and it's been sitting about 5 minutes, so I take an immersion blender and puree it. If you don't have one of these, you need one. It's the best thing in the world. Okay. So now, pea soup's got a nice consistency. Now what I'll do is, I'm going to add, here's the meat that I took out after I made the broth, and I ended up with about 1.5 pounds of the ham. And being that this was a fresh ham, it really didn't have that smoky flavor that you look for in pea soup. So that's why I first added the salt pork initially, and then I rendered off the second batch and left it in there to add some smokiness to this. So we're going to add 1.5 pounds of this meat. Now generally what I do, I never eat pea soup the same day that I make it because it takes a while for the flavors to blend. Pretty much any soup I make for that matter. This is going to be a little thick, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to season it a little bit to taste. I'm going to do the final seasoning tomorrow when I reheat it for actually to serve. So let's see what we got going on here. Okay, I can tell right away it needs salt. And I was reluctant to add salt at first because of the saltiness of the ham and the salt pork. But I'm going to add some salt now. I'm going to add a little more pepper. And my secret ingredient, which is actually marjoram. This is great when you want to sweeten up something. And it adds an incredible depth of sweetness to this soup. So I'm going to go ahead and add about a teaspoon of that. Now this is going to taste totally different tomorrow. But I want to give the salt a chance to work in there, along with the marjoram. So I'm going to give it a final taste now. Yeah, it brought up the sweetness, and the salt is getting to where it needs to be, but I'm going to let this sit. So tomorrow, when I go to reheat it, I'm going to have some chicken stock on hand if I need to thin it out, and then we'll serve it. And the best way that I find to eat this is with some Ritz crackers, and you've got to put some curry powder on it. I don't put it in the soup because my wife it doesn't agree with her, but tomorrow when I go to taste it, I'll film it for you and I'll show you how I present it. Oh, one other thing, it is the best you'll ever taste. Okay, so what I had to do was, when I took it out of the refrigerator, I added about a cup of chicken broth to thin it out because it was like a brick, which is normally what happens. And I just wanted to remind you that when you're cooking the soup, you need to stir it as the peas are getting softened, otherwise they'll just become a mass on the bottom, and that's another reason why it's important to use the Dutch oven, because it distributes the heat evenly. But anyway, so now I got the pea soup. I'm going to crush up some Ritz crackers in there. I already added some curry and some pepper, and it did need a little bit of salt. And that's it. Let's taste it. Oh yeah. It's got the smokiness and everything, and I know you're going to love this recipe because it's going to be the best you'll ever taste.